watched Stranger Things 2. Binge watched that over the weekend.
Yeah.
My first weekend back in a long time.
First weekend back.
It was awesome.
Oh, yeah. The people may not know. You are a UE admission counselor now. Is that the correct term?
Yes.
Okay.
I counsel admissions.
So you bring people to Evansville based on
Just
your
the good
convincing stories of
I
tales
leave
of grandeur.
Evansville and convince people who are in their youth but on the verge of superstardom to come to Evansville. Yes.
How have you found our reputation outside of Evansville?
No one's heard of us.
Which I don't necessarily see that as a bad. It's not great, but it's not bad.
It's not good for my job though, because I'm standing at a table and I'm not going to be a carnival barker. You know, I only talk to the people who actually approach me, and people don't approach me unless they've heard of UE or Evansville. And that's few and far between. But we're working on that.
But it could be worse because we have, in some circles, a reputation of being miserable and all that junk.
Oh,
from a couple years ago.
The thing is, only the people who live in Evansville think that, and they're wrong.
So when you travel around to these places, what other colleges are you put up against?
All of them. You'd be stunned. I see a lot of schools from all over. Some fairs I've been to may only have maybe 3 or 4 schools, and that's usually like a high school visit. A typical fair will have maybe 10 to 15 schools, and then then you have like if you have a community college type fair or a county fair, whatever like that, they can be massive. We filled the big science center in Columbus, COSI. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of that, but yeah, that's the Museum of like Science and Innovation, I think. Thank you. We had every floor on that sucker filled. We filled a huge room in Duke Energy in Cincinnati. We filled hundreds of colleges.
And it's not, we're not talking like regional schools, but like national schools.
Yeah.
See at these places.
You'll see more of a concentration of the schools in that area, but then yes, all over. So
your Duke universities, your
occasionally
UCLA,
Duke doesn't. You would be
like
surprised. Duke does not get out there and recruit as often as you'd think. But I would see a lot of other huge schools, like we've mentioned, UK and Louisville and Alabama, and
sure.
So I met people from all over the place. Like the Alabama recruiter has been near me a few times, but then there's small schools. Like I made friends with some people
Does
from
the Alabama
High Point.
recruiter wear overalls?
No.
Roll Tide on that.
She does say Roll Tide, though. Oh. But yeah, it's from all over. And you know what's crazy is they all get along. All of these people get along. And, it's counterintuitive because we should all be competing against each other for these kids. Nobody really is competitive. They, I don't know. I walked into a very strange, bizarro world where these people are all friends and we all see each other once or twice a year, and we're eating together and laughing, and they go out and party, and I don't because I'm old, and they don't invite me. But there's...
I called them and said, do not invite her out to party.
True. Most everybody's swinging for the same team, too, so that's been very interesting. But it's... What?
Nothing.
And, so I've been having... What are you laughing at?
Sorry.
They're all...
Yeah, no, don't elaborate. I'm good.
They're all great.
Yeah, they're great.
So it's been a lot of traveling, a lot of hotels. I got to try a lot of pizza from different places. Most of the time I don't even eat, though.
You didn't eat pizza when you were in St. Louis, though, right?
Oh, gosh, no.
Good. Okay, good.
No one eats pizza in St. Louis.
Technically there is one spot that I can tell you about later, but for next trip. But it's downtown. It's pie. Well, they have a lot of places. Pie in St. Louis is actually good, but the rest of it's garbage.
When I was in St. Louis, I was far away from the downtown area.
I think there are other spots for pie, but anyways.
That one was one of the few where I think I ran into the food trucks. So that was cool.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So this is your first time, not technically your first time as a real adult job, but it's kind of.
Oh, it feels like
like a real thing.
Totally, this is my first real grown-up job.
Yeah. So, I mean, are you enjoying that?
Oh, yeah. I love knowing where I'm going to be actually that day. There's a lot of pressure on me when I'm staying at home because I have to be very disciplined to make sure that every day I'm, making the most of my time, and I have to get myself up, and I have to go exercise, and I have to make myself get all these jobs done and create jobs out of thin air if they don't exist. And I'm always spending money on things to get projects done. And as much as I miss that productivity, it's kind of nice to have a place where I, can go and do these things. I don't know. It sounds weird. Maybe I'll be really, really tired of it in a little while, but I like it. But I also have just the most amazing people that I work with. Yeah. I did not expect that. I really thought that was probably one of my biggest fears of getting a grown-up job is having to deal with other grown-ups and such tight quarters, and working with them. And I cannot believe how awesome these people are. They really are. Everyone gets along, and they're funny, and they'll drop whatever they're doing to help each other. And I think we're all kind of interchangeable, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, I trust every single person in there to do anything, to work with the students, to do any job that, the quality doesn't drop off. It's awesome.
Yeah, and you survived travel season, and we survived travel season.
You guys be fine. I worked myself out of a job years ago.
Yeah, that's not that part that was the struggle.
It is strange, though, for somebody who's been a stay-at-home mom for so long to all of a sudden have a full-time job that involves, like a month and a half of travel.
Yeah, I mean, I was nervous that you were going to go all Rumspringa on us.
I kept coming back, just like the Amish.
Hopefully. I don't want to know your stories. I mean,
I told you there wasn't much threat.
Yeah, that's good. Prayers do work.
I took my own beer.
Yep.
Stayed in my hotel room.
See,
actually, I wasn't there. That's the thing. There is no downtime. Yeah, like I get up and I have to get to the schools, and I drive constantly from school to school to school to school during the day. And we're in big cities. We're in big cities, so every school is far away from every other school.
Yeah.
And none of the schools will cooperate with your schedule. So I would be driving, a good half an hour or so between schools. And then you only have so many you can get to before their school is out. And then that would give me a short amount of time to get back to the hotel, do a little bit of work, and then I'd have to turn around and leave again to go to a college fair. And those would usually last from like 5 to 8. And then I'd have to drive, again back to the hotel, take a shower and all that stuff. So, it was just 12-hour days back to back to back to back.
Is there anything on your travels that you came across that you would think, we need this in Evansville?
I think my favorite place was the bar in Columbus. Oh, what was that called?
Yeah, I can't remember, but the one with the whatever bowling that is with the Kindle
pin. Yeah, it had pins in the name. Pin mechanical, something mechanical pin company. Yeah. Crap, I apologize for forgetting that. But yeah, that was amazing. But the thing is, one of the things that made it so cool was how open the environment was. Like big garage door style open to patios with food trucks outside of the patios, which they were technically not at the restaurant. I would walk up to the fence and the food truck was up against the fence, so you really didn't have to leave. So they found ways to work around the rules and still be awesome. So you could go into one patio area and play cornhole or whatever. Then walk in and there'd be a big bar with some arcade stuff, but it was very well lit because it was all natural light. You can walk all the way through out into another open section with eating, and then you could walk into another open section with the world's largest paddle, like ping pong paddle, and then there was all the mechanical bowling, and it was just awesome. And the kids could come. So
okay.
Yeah, and without it being, it didn't feel like a kid-friendly environment, but it also didn't feel like kids couldn't be there. It was just, I don't know, it was great. I wish we had a lot more open, outdoor, those kinds of things where you could sort of just go in and out and, enjoy the weather, play outside, walk out.
Right.
It seems so simple. It really does. I don't
really
understand why we can't
just get out of our own way sometimes.
Yeah, laws really are supposed to be in place to protect us. And if it's just not protecting, it's actually sort of impeding us from things. If it's taking away certain rights, then we've got to stop and rethink that. And it's kind of dumb. Like, I should be allowed to have a big open, wall that I can close and open. It's my freaking business. And if people don't like it, they don't have to come.
Yeah.
There's no place for the government in that particular rule. And I appreciate, the FDA and stuff, making sure that there's no garbage and
right.
That's fine. You're protecting me. I don't need protection from a garage door.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think if you say garage door one more time, Philip Hooper shows up, so we maybe won't want to do that.
I just say architecture. There he is.
Hoopastank. Cool. Well,
you just have to look at the why behind every stinking law sometimes, like, is it really protecting our rights or is it taking away our rights?
And to be fair, I think there's some stuff that's changed recently, so I think we're on the right path.
We are working on it, but it shouldn't be like this exhausting and this frustrating. You shouldn't have to work this hard to get all these kinds of weird rules taken away. But I understand it's probably more difficult to get rid of a law than to make a law. So
right. Yeah.
Seriously, people. I also really liked the roundabouts.
Really?
I didn't.
I
know. I really did. I do not like them either. Well, I didn't until I had to do this much traveling in a lot of traffic. And I ended up kind of really appreciating the way they worked, the flow, because I'm starting to see how frustrating like four-way stops can be. And in some cases where you have a stoplight that really has no business being there. But if you can just constantly keep that traffic just flowing, it does actually get people moving and it's safer. Because you've been to four-way stops where people wave you on when it's not their right to wave you on, and that's annoying. Right. Or people just run it because they're like, well, I'm assuming the other three are going to stop, so I'm going.
The whole stop sign thing downtown is a whole topic we can talk about at some point, because that's just, people drive me nuts with that. Where they'll stop where there is no stop sign.
That's the problem. They stop where there is no.
And they wave you on, and they wave my kids on, teaching my kids to go. And then the next person is not going to stop. And then
let's talk about that, people. If there are pedestrians at a stop area, and there's a two-way stop, but not a four-way stop, and you are supposed to be going, you have no stop sign, and the pedestrians stop for you, you do not stop as the driver.
Right.
You are going to cause more problems than you create.
I know you're being nice and you're trying to be friendly, but it's not helping, because you're teaching my kids to ignore the cars and just walk out in front of everybody.
Plus, if you stop and then the people walk, you can't control the rest of the traffic, then more people could run them over.
Yep.
There is no place really for politeness in traffic. This is one of those times where I actually like the laws that we have developed in traffic, because we have to have some sort of chain of command, some sort of rule structure to go by. And you people out there who are being extra polite are actually ruining the system.
Yep. You
defensive drivers cause more problems. Just if you're supposed to stop, stop. If you're not supposed to stop, don't stop.
Right.
Driving me nuts. And I tell my children, I don't care if a person stops and they don't have a stop sign. If they stop and wave you on, you don't go because it's not safe. You will wait until all the traffic is gone, and then you will walk through. And it probably pisses the drivers off, but they don't think about it from a pedestrian's point of view. It is not safe for me to go just because you decided to wave me on. We follow rules for a reason.
And you're not, I mean, you can go by in like half a second.
Yeah.
You're not saving me any time. You're making me feel worse.
Then, all right, this bleeds right over into my next little pet peeve. As a woman, if I hold the door open for a man because I got to the door first, 9 times out of 10, that man will stop, get in my way to try to grab the door so that I have to go through first. And it's like this little chivalrous tug of war has cost us an extra 5 minutes because you wouldn't just get your ass through the door so that I could go through. Your insistence that, no, I'm going to stop and hold the door open for you because you're a woman thing, that's got to stop. If I'm holding the door for you, let's do the efficient thing and just get through the door so that we can all go in. I don't care for this little traffic jam thing that people cause. Like, no, you go in. You're in my way. I literally have to get and go around you now so that you can hold the door open for me, even though I was already I don't do it.
Okay, it's just very...
I got to take my jacket off.
It's a very confusing time for males
I
right
know.
now.
I get it. I get it because you want to be respectful, but here's the thing. If you're trying to figure out what you should or shouldn't do with women, don't force anything on people. If you see somebody who is carrying a bunch of groceries, you can ask, may I help? It's those douchebags that will come up to me and try to forcefully take something out of my hands because of their quote-unquote chivalry. That is wrong. You don't force yourself onto people like you think we have to have your help. I can't stand that. And this is coming from somebody who used to go to Lowe's twice a week. Mm-hmm. I have put up with a lot of garbage. Like that one time. But I've literally left a hardware store in tears. You remember that? Minky's?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the one in
Hopstadt. Treated me so badly because they thought I didn't know what I was doing that I left there in tears. And then you called them and got onto them, which was kind of defeated the whole point, but whatever. I appreciated it at the same time. I don't want to be treated like a moron, but I want my friends and my family to stand up for me, and it's not like a woman thing, but yeah, I know how to do plumbing. I don't need to be treated that way. It was frustrating. Anyway, yeah, like that time at Lowe's, I remember one time I had like a cart full of stuff, just a typical thing, and the guy turned around and said, somebody's bringing home a lot of work for her husband. That's the kind of garbage that I've had to put up with.
If they only knew.
For so
I
long.
want zero part of that.
And see, that is not chivalry. You're just being an ass. Chivalry should be respect for a human.
Yeah.
Treat that person how you would a human. Is there a dude carrying too many groceries? Yeah, you offer to help. If you're not willing to offer to help the dude, then don't go and try to make the woman give you her groceries too. It's just a simple thing. I understand, though, that can be complicated because you do want to be like opening a door for somebody or whatever, but why can't we just treat everybody that way? Open doors for everybody. Help each other out. Don't go to help someone because you think they are less than or incapable. You go to help them because they're human and they have value as a human, and you want to just help out in any way you can. That is as simple as it gets. Next. Let's go. Let's do this.
I don't know. I'm scared now.
Oh, yeah. And people, Jason cooks. Every time I bring food somewhere, don't insist that I did it.
Did you do a good job today with your soup?
You did fantastic with the soup, but they all understood that you did it. It was totally fine.
Oh, okay.
I'm talking about, I don't know, your family. Every year. It isn't me. I don't know how to get this through to you. It's
I know what
not
you're
me
talking
cooking. It's Jason. Oh my gosh.
Oh.
Men can cook, you know.
Yeah, there's a couple of cooks out there. I think our relationship confuses people. We have a little bit of a gender bender happening.
But and I think this is part of what hurts a lot of relationships is that constant fight against your role or in that relationship. Everybody has strengths and weaknesses that they bring. And we just figured it out. I mean, we weren't doing it right for the first, I don't know, almost a decade. But, gradually you start to see, you're better at this than I am. I'm better at this. You be in charge of that. I'm going to be in charge of that. Mm-hmm. And it works. Bring your strengths. Bring your A game to the marriage. Yeah. And you got a good marriage. If everybody's constantly trying to fill a role, like I'm the woman, so I have to, cook and clean and wash the kids and this and that, she's miserable. Then the guy who's like, I have to go out and sit in a cubicle all day and do this job and make money to take care of this family, and I'm miserable, so I'm going to go to a bar before I have to come back to this hellhole I call my house. Because they're all fighting against, their actual, what they should be doing in their relationship. Next.
Yeah, I won't clean, though, to be honest. I don't.
Can't or won't?
Yeah.
Both.
Both.
That's why we have children. I don't think anybody's cleaning in this house anymore. We both have full-time jobs.
I mean, let's be honest.
Except for the kids. They don't do shit around here. I watched my son play video games, then eat a pint of ice cream, and then go back and play video games again. I'm pretty sure he can clean the house this weekend.
Pretty jealous of that lifestyle, actually.
Nope.
I wish I could play video games.
Now, and he wonders why he's sad. Oh, you think?
Sorry, son. Well, one thing I had some stuff, and I was like, if we ever talk, let's talk about this crap. But so traffic rules we talked about, but another thing about
that
traffic,
was on the list.
That was on my list because the freaking stop signs downtown irritates me every freaking day.
On the list. I just felt like talking about it.
Part 2 of that though was bikes on sidewalks.
Oh.
Drives me insane.
Yeah, when I almost got hit by a guy with his bike on Washington, I told him he should have his bike on the street. He said, well, you've been hit by a car 3 times. You wouldn't want to drive on the street either. And my response to that is, clearly you suck at riding a bike, because I know a lot of people who ride bikes.
We should take the bus.
I don't know if anybody has been hit by a car that many times. Why don't you try watching where you're going? The thing is, the rules should be, if you are on wheels, you're part of the traffic. It's just like when you're walking. When you are a pedestrian, you walk against the traffic. If you are on wheels, I don't think skates are included. I'm not sure. That gets a little tricky. But if you're on wheels, you're part of the traffic. You flow with the traffic, and you are technically supposed to follow the rules of the traffic. But in Indiana, that is not actually the law. You don't have to ride your bike on the street. You're allowed on the sidewalk.
I'm disappointed in that rule.
But most states have the law against riding your bike on the sidewalk for a reason. Where else do we have for pedestrians at this point? Do we need to make another sidewalk walk?
Yeah, I've almost gotten hit on the sidewalk by people on bikes.
Oh, yeah.
It's crazy. And
there's not enough room for all of us.
We have sharrows on the roads for these people downtown. If nothing else, downtown, you should be on your bikes on the road.
Now, and I'm speaking from the point of view of a pedestrian. We shouldn't have bikes on the sidewalks with us. No. They don't follow any rules. It's like Lord of the Flies out there. Now, but I also understand our traffic system really is not good for bikes. So bikes are kind of, a man without a country. They don't really have a good place. Yeah. And that's part of the city's problem as well, because we pay taxes for an infrastructure. When you have something that has to be kept to a certain level for the good of an entire community, that's where the government needs to come in. And they should definitely be doing a better job of providing space for pedestrians and cyclists and cars.
And I feel like that's on their agenda, though. I mean, even the North Main stuff, there's
The road
area.
to hell is paved with city agendas. Nothing.
I don't think that's
I don't even know if that makes any sense. But the thing is, I mean, there's always somebody out there who's talking like what we're talking about and trying to get these things done. And we think, okay, great, somebody's doing something, and then nothing ever gets done. But have you ever seen like the bike paths in this town? All 5 of them. Some of them are on the outside of the street, and that street won't even be wide enough for 2 full cars. And somehow a bike is supposed to be there. And a car will be parked in the bike lane inevitably, which forces the biker to be in a very dangerous situation because now you're forced to swerve out with traffic coming at you from your backside. But then you have places where the bike path is in the middle of the road, up against the middle section. No, I would not even ride my bike in the middle of the road like that. That doesn't feel safe at all. So can we not have a little bit of consistency at least with that kind of system? And maybe that's what they were trying to do is they put the bike lane in the middle to avoid the parked cars. But that's terrifying to be in the middle of the road.
Yeah.
They shouldn't be on the sidewalks, but then again, they shouldn't be on the streets. So I understand we have a serious problem. Fortunately, hardly anybody around here rides bikes. But I really think that it might be a chicken and egg situation where you don't want to ride your bike because it's not bike friendly. And maybe if it were more bike friendly, we could ride our bikes.
Well, I think with the bike rental thing, the Zagster bikes, I think that has actually helped raise awareness of what's going on because there's a lot of people. I see a lot of people on those bikes.
Really? I'd be curious to see what the stats are on that because I never see them.
Yeah, and I know that there are plans for helping that out, and they're always adding stuff. And I'm getting Austin Maxheimer, who's involved with the Trail Coalition, at some point soon. Hopefully, shout out and pod signal out to Austin. And
we have 3 universities, colleges, 2 universities, college, whatever. There's a lot of situations. Not only are they at the right age where they actually are starting to prefer riding bikes. I mean, they're going places by themselves. They're more environmentally conscious in this age group. And for the most part, they just don't have the money for cars. We should have bike system in place for them, especially like USI. They're out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
We have no way of getting them.
And they have great trails out there. And
that's what they think is if we say, well, there's no place to ride your bike, they're like, well, we've got trails. No. We're talking about as a form of transportation, not recreation. We should be able to get places with our bikes.
Be able to connect. I mean, and you can, but it's still sketchy in parts for sure.
Yeah, and they're not going to be able to walk anywhere. Now, Ivy Tech, it's I wouldn't even want to drive near Ivy Tech, frankly. But then with UE, they could really use more bikes in that area because they are within biking distance of a lot of great places.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and
they are not commuters. Like USI, there's commuters.
Right.
And UE is a bunch of kids who, have been dropped off there by their parents from hours and hours away. They probably like to have a bike.
Yep.
Whatever.
Cool.
But the freshmen are allowed to have cars, by the way. Little plug.
Good job, everybody.